Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new video. Today I'm going to be going over Hobby Basics episode 3. In this episode we're going to cover everything that has to do with sports card grading. I'm going to be talking about the various grading card companies, and I'm going to be comparing the prices of PSA, BGS, and SGC, the top 3 grading companies right now. So let's get into the video. Before we get into the video, I would greatly appreciate it if you drop that like, drop a comment down below, and sub to the channel. Really appreciate it. Love seeing all the support on the channel recently. So I want to start out with the gold standard of trading card grading, and that's going to be PSA. PSA holds the greatest weight in terms of hobby value and as well as hobby reputation. PSA has by far and away the greatest value for grading your cards, but right now, because it holds the highest weight in terms of value, it also has one of the highest turnaround times in the hobby. So much so that PSA actually suspended their grading back in March, I believe. They suspended all levels except for Super Express, which I'm going to get into here in a little bit. So here's their different services in terms of grading. So they usually have a value submission where you can get $20 per card, and this has the highest turnaround times. And as you go up in levels, you get quicker turnaround times. So the value is $20 a card with a maximum of $500 in declared value, which means usually an estimate of if your card grades a 10, then it can't exceed more than $500, and if it does by a great deal, then PSA is going to upcharge you a little bit. And then you have economy here, $50 a card. That's a little bit faster of a turnaround time, but it's not really by much. Some people are still waiting for economy submissions from back in August, September, November. You got regular card, which is $100 a card, and you got $1,000 maximum declared value here. And then the only 3 that are open right now, PSA actually opened up Express for $200 a card. It was originally $150 before they shut this service down. Express is going to be a couple months turnaround time right now. Super Express at $300 a card. That's supposed to be a 5 business day turnaround time, but people are still waiting up to a couple weeks for those. And then walkthrough, that's going to be the fastest way to get your cards back, but it's going to be the most expensive, and it also has the highest amount of maximum declared value. So this is what you're going to want to submit your high-end Jordans, LeBrons, Kobe's, anything that would have crazy value. If you get it graded a 10 or even a 9, you're going to want to submit it either Super Express or walkthrough. Next, we're going to be talking about Beckett grading services, or better known as BGS. Everyone knows these labels as the gold labels for gem mints, and they also have the subgrades. You get one for centering, you get one for corners, edges, and surface. And in order to get a 9.5 true gem mint, you have to get at least 3 9.5s in the subgrades, and you're allowed 1 9 to get that gem mint grade. A true gem mint actually would be all 4 9.5s or higher. Now, similar to PSA, Beckett also shut down a lot of their grading services as of recently, so there's not too many options right now. There's a premium level with no subgrades, which means you won't get the 4 subgrades for centering, corners, edges, or surface. That's $125 a card. This will get you your card a little bit faster than having it with subgrades. And then the other one is premium with the subgrades. That's $250 a card. That's because the subgrades take a little bit longer time to go through and analyze and get as accurate as possible in your card. Having the subgrades is going to bump up the value of your card a little bit more, as people want to know exactly what's wrong with the card. So if you have 9.5 for centering, corners, and surface, then you're probably going to have a little bit more of a premium than you would in a lower grade on the surface or the centering. Centering is one of the most important aspects when grading a card. It affects the value, especially for vintage cards or any older cards. If it's a PSA like 6 or PSA 7 or like a BGS 8, something low like that, as long as the card is fairly well centered, then it still might have really high value. So BGS only is offering 2 service levels right now, so it's not really ideal to submit to them right now either, especially with your lower end cards. The only cards I would be submitting here right now are any baseball autos or any autos in general. Usually people go after the Beckett 9.5 with the auto graded a 10. Those ones are usually the best ones for BGS. PSA is always going to have a higher value than BGS in terms of this, but usually for the autos you can get very comparable values if you have a 9.510. I'm going to be getting into the different comparisons and the values later in the video, but right now I wanted to show you guys the third tier of grading right now, and that's SGC. SGC has made a name for itself in terms of vintage. A lot of people know their grading cards and their slabs based on their vintage cards, but with PSA being shut down and Beckett being shut down at the same time, SGC is starting to become a little more of a staple in the hobby in terms of getting value for your modern cards as well. So here's what the SGC slab looks like. I'll show a comparison of every single slab because not all services or grading card companies have their slabs on their homepage. So I'll do a quick comparison after I run through each of the services, but here's what the SGC one looks like. Very minimal look, very plain and simple, white with black. Nothing too crazy as compared to HGA that we'll be covering here in a little bit. And their services are pretty straightforward. You get 20 to 25 estimated business days, easily one of the fastest turnaround times in the hobby right now. A lot of people, when they're submitting their $30 cards, they can be submitting anywhere from 20 to 50 cards at $30, and people are getting them door to door, which means shipping the cards from your house to SGC to getting them back in as little as 2 to 3 weeks. It's very fast right now, it's very efficient, and if you like that minimalistic look and you don't like any other of the crazy looks out there in slabs, then SGC is going to be the way to go right now. They also have 1 to 3 business days, and that's $250 a card, all the way up to $2,000 to $3,750 depending on the declared value. I wouldn't really worry about this too much unless you have something crazy in vintage, but even if you have something crazy in vintage, you're going to want to do a price comparison for what it's going for in SGC 4, 5, or 6 in comparison to a PSA, because if you're going to get a lot more value in the PSA, then I would just go ahead and submit the $300 Super Express for PSA in that scenario. HGA, or Hybrid Grading Approach, is a new company that started emerging late last year, I believe, and their grading technology they claim is different than everyone else's. They use AI in their software for grading, which means it should be a lot more accurate than a lot of the competition out there. And another way that HGA stands out is because of their slabs. Their slabs are very unique in that they can offer their labels in various amounts of colors. You can usually get it in terms of the card color parallel or the card color in general. You can get it in the colors of the team, or you can get any sort of custom color that you want. So it's a lot more customizable and you get a lot more variations in your slabs. So it's a very good slab in terms of PC collecting, but in terms of values, we're going to get into that a little bit later and see how HGA compares for the other 3. But in terms of their grading services, they have 2 business days, which is the fastest. That's $100 per card. You have 10 business days, $55 a card. 30 business days at $35. And the best value, 60 days for $20 a card. So still relatively fast in terms of business days. The 30 business days is very comparable to the SGC. The only difference with their grading service is that they have queues open up. I believe they have that open up twice a week right now. I think it's Tuesdays and Fridays or Tuesdays and Thursdays, right around 4:45 p.m. They open up their queue. And this is how they keep their turnaround time down, because they limit the amount of cards for each submission. I believe it's limited to about 1,000 per queue. I could be wrong on those numbers, but you have to get in the waiting queue when it opens up, and then it's very randomized. If you get one of the lucky draws, then you'll be able to get your card submission in at that time. So if you're above 1,000 or 2,000 in line, then you're probably not going to be able to get your card submitted in that time, so you're going to have to wait in that queue for the next opportunity. But this is how they keep their turnaround times down. So it's a very unique approach in terms of grading card services. There's not really anything out there like that right now, which is very cool. And then the last and final card grading service that has any recognition in the hobby in terms of value is CSG, or Certified Sports Guarantee. So this grading card company is a little bit weird for me. There's not really any value in my eyes. Their slabs are quite a bit different than the rest. I don't really like the slab look personally, but there's some people out there that like the simplicity and like the green for the logo. And they also have a similar grading scale to BGS, and they also have their subgrades here for centering, corners, edges, and surface. So I don't personally like the looks of these slabs, but everyone has different tastes out there, and the market will demand whatever's the most popular, and will determine what the highest slab in demand is. So CGS, their grading services, well, here's their grading scale. They have a perfect 10, a pristine 10, gem mint 9.5, 9 mint 8.5, 8, 7.5, 7. So it's a very similar scale to BGS. So a perfect 10 in their eyes. This is the quad 10. So this is very comparable to the BGS Black Label, where all subgrades are a 10. And a pristine 10 has 195 on the subgrades, and then Gem Mint 95 is anything with 3 95s or above. So very similar scale in terms of BGS. And in terms of their grading fees, they're unlimited walkthrough. You can have as high of a card value as you want. You can submit the most expensive card in the world, and it's not going to matter for this fee. For a 5-day turnaround time, it's $125 per card, plus 1% fair market value. This is probably what their fee is for the declared value. That's why it's unlimited. So whatever the declared value is for that card, CSG is going to get a 1% on that. And then the regular walkthrough has a $50,000 cap, $125 a card for 5 days, Express $60 a card for 11 days, Standard at $30, Economy at $20, and Bulk at $12. You're going to need 50 cards minimum to get that bulk level, and it's at 206 days for turnaround time right now, which is not very ideal at all. I'd much rather submit to PSA, but again, PSA and BGS don't have those bulk subs open. So if you like the look of CGS, then you can go ahead with this service. I personally would not. I would go for either SGC or HGA right now, but that's just myself. Leave in the comments down below which of these services you'd want to submit to right now. Obviously everyone wants to go with PSA or BGS, but with their bulk subs or their regular subs not being open, which of these grading card companies would you guys submit with? So now that we've gone through the different grading card companies, I wanted to do a little bit of a price comparison between the 5 of them. So on Card Ladder, they've started incorporating the SGC in some of their cards, which is very nice. SGC is starting to get up there as the tier 3 of grading card services right now. So we're going to take a look here at the Zion Williamson Prism PSA 10, the Beckett 9.5, the CSG 10, or the CSG 9.5, the SGC 10, and the HGA 9.5. I'm going to be looking at all of the gem mint variations of each of the slabs. So PSA obviously is going to be the highest value. It's the gold standard in the hobby. Currently it's sitting around $400 for a PSA 10 for Zion. Fairly standard. Everyone pretty much knows that price as of now. But when looking at the BGS 9.5, it only has 217 in current value. Not many people are liking the 9.5s for the BGS in comparison to the PSA 10s. So very interesting right there, about 50% of the PSA 10 value. When looking at the SGC 10, it's actually higher than the BGS 9.5, which is very surprising. It's probably because it has a lower pop count. Card Ladder doesn't have the pop count for SGC as of yet. I would expect them to incorporate that sometime soon on some of these cards. But yeah, it's about, I would say 40% lower than the PSA 10 value, which is very surprising. We're going to hop on over to eBay to check out the HGA and the CSGs. There's not really many comps right now. So for the CSG 9.5 on the Zion, it sold for about $200 here on May 25th. And for HGA, the only comp recently is on June 20th at $237. So I'll hop on over to CardLadder again and compare that to the PSA. So on May 25th, the PSA was selling for around $450 to $475, so a lot lower than the PSA 10 for the CSG grading card company. And on June 20th, the PSA was actually just about around the same value, around $375 to $400. So the HGA 10 being $237 around that time is very good. That's right around what SGC is as well. So some cards for HGA and SGC are going to have very similar values. The only thing I would say with HGA is I've seen a lot of people around complain about their grading service because they only seem to get 9s, and it's very difficult to get a 9.5, which doesn't seem too good of an idea to me, that 9.5s are very hard to achieve when they're also offering a 10 for grading. You would think 10s are the really rare ones to get and not the 9.5, the gem mints. Those should be fairly easy to attain, but not super easy. But yeah, this is a little bit of a price comparison. So CSG comes in last in terms of their graded card values. Then SGC and HGA, depending on the card you're looking at, is about tied for that third tier for the pricing. And then you're going to have your Beckett's, your 9.5s are going to be the second highest, except for this Zion card, but usually BGS is that second tier. There's some cards out there that SGC and HGA will actually outsell the Beckett's. And then of course your PSA 10 is always going to have the highest value. It's just the gold standard of the hobby. Everyone knows that PSA 10s are the gold standard for any card in any terms of this hobby right now. So that's a little bit of a price comparison. So that's going to do it for the video. Just wanted to give you guys a little bit of a comparison between the 5 main grading card companies, the different services that they offer right now, and which one you might be looking to submit to. If you're looking for lower end, I would definitely go with SGC right now. They seem to have the best value and also the best turnaround times. If you're going for PC card submissions, I would go with HGA probably, because you get that customization of the labels. I would steer clear of CSG for almost any card. I don't see right now how CSG is a very valuable submission right now, just because their turnaround times aren't nearly that quick as SGC or HGA. And then of course, if you have super high-end cards, you're going to want to submit to either BGS or PSA, depending on the card. So just do your research and look at all the comps for all of the different submissions, and make sure you're getting the best value for your cards out there. But anyways, that's going to do it for the video. Please remember to leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel for future sports card content. And anyways, I'm out.